Hi, welcome back for another episode of Real Estate for Real People. We are excited. I think I say that all the time. I think we're always excited, but
Shannon is extremely excited.
I am kind of excited, but I am really excited. So today we have special guest John Kot from Kot Auto Group, and we are going to learn a little bit about you, about Kot Auto Group, and also some great sales techniques. You do a fantastic job with your sales crew and industry. We've seen your videos. You have quite a big following.
Yes.
So we can dive a little bit into that as well. So
thank you. Yeah, glad to be here and see you guys again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. So maybe you can start and tell us Kot Auto Group. How long have you been around? Where did you start?
I started in a small town in Saskatchewan, just selling cars when I was 17 and worked my way up and met my wife on a trip to Alberta. And then she wasn't much of a small town Saskatchewan girl. So we moved to Edmonton at a young age, I think in our 20s, and still stayed in the car business and kind of work my way up through management and different.
And I'm going to pause you for a moment because I know a lot of people in the car industry. It seems to be a family industry.
Right.
And you started this.
So I'm generation 1. There's generation 2, and my kids are involved. But I was the founder, and
that's pretty remarkable to have the success that you've had already. And I just wanted to
thank you.
A good point.
Say
it's
that.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, we're 10 years of ownership. But I've been in the business since I was, like I said, a teenager. So it's kind of 25 years in the making. I tell my kids that all the time. It's not like we're just 10 years business because Trina and I have been kind of struggling or doing it and working towards this for 25 years, right? So it's not always just when you get into business that there's always the build up, the growth or the experience that you got before that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So you met Trina and then you moved up to Edmonton.
Then, I was in management and kind of worked my way up and, all different types and was in senior management for some large dealer groups in Edmonton for about 17 years.
Wow.
So then we moved to Kelowna about 12 years ago.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, and bought the dealership 10 years ago.
Yep. And tell us which dealership.
So it was Kelowna Hyundai. That was my, my baby, my first one. So and so now we have 8 dealerships across BC.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so from where to where? So you've Kelowna?
So Kelowna Hyundai was the first one. And then we opened up Buy Direct a couple of years after. So just a used car. I really wanted the property, which is our future dealership now where we built on it. But I knew that property was going to come available. So we leased the spot and had a used car lot on there, Buy Direct. It's still active. It's on the back part of the property.
Smart.
So we got that one. And then our third dealership in 2014 was Maple Ridge Hyundai. So just outside Vancouver, a suburb there. And then we had a couple year break, and then all our expansions happened in the last few years. So then it
just
went
go big, eh?
Yeah. Then it went from. Then we got the open point in Penticton for Nissan. So we awarded that, which is kind of a long process where different dealers have to apply for it, and we were awarded that. So that was nice. And then that was the fourth one, and then came. Both Victoria, Hyundai, Kia, and the 2 Genesis, all since about 2018.
Wow. Yeah, amazing. So to grow that quickly, that's quite significant growth, you know, in any industry, but I certainly think in the car industry.
Yeah.
You obviously must have a tried and true system. Can you share your philosophy a little bit with us?
Yeah, we do have a lot of best practices and a lot of systems that we try and follow, but the biggest thing is just to try and have people around me that will execute it, right? So I'm lucky enough that we've really done a good job of having, second tier and third tier managers that kind of are, disciples almost of my systems and, they can, so in one, I don't buy a dealership till I have someone ready that can kind of, be the operator.
Yes.
So that's kind of been secrets to the success is having 1 or 2 people. Like if I buy a dealership, I can take them from this store and put them to the other store. So
smart.
I'm not like buying dealerships and then looking for someone to run them. We always hire within, and any ones that we've grown on, we've taken someone, Kelowna Hyundai was kind of our mothership. So we've, everyone's kind of went through that store. But it's probably been one of the biggest part of the success is just a lot of the GMs have been with me 7, 8, 9, 10 years, right? And then they work their way up, right? So
much like how yourself. Yeah. So that same philosophy is
right? Yeah.
Learning all the ins and outs of the business. And
exactly. And then, obviously my kids who kind of grew up in the business, because I was always in it. So even when I was working for other companies, they were around and at the dealerships doing whatever. And so they've all, as adult children, kind of wanted to get into it, and not, when they were in their teenage years, they said, I'll never be in the car business. But as soon as they got around graduation, they're like, hey, Dad, what do you think about this? And
Yes.
yeah. So my oldest son started selling cars right out of high school. And then a few years in, then we thought it would be good for him to go work somewhere else. So he did that. And then,
smart.
And then my second son, Jordan, he went and got a business degree.
Yep.
So that was good. And then my daughter, she was going to go into a nurse, and then at the last minute she said, hey, I'd like to try the car business out. So she's kind of done a little bit of all the positions.
Wow.
And then kind of ended up being in the finance department. So it is kind of fun having the older kids involved in the business.
Yes,
And
it would be.
It's a different aspect because you're a parent and their boss, and we're all working together. And then
family business is not always easy, but it is always worthwhile, and it's always.
And then I kind of have Trina just kind of guiding and watching from the outside, and making sure that we're staying on course and giving us her opinion when needed, and stuff like that. So
And then you've still got one younger son at home. He's only going into grade 8.
I have a 13-year-old. Yeah, that's going into middle school here. So
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Little surprise at 40.
I think it's great. I think
so. You're busy, really busy, running between the dealerships.
Yes.
So how do you? Because something I'd love to talk about, and I kind of said in the beginning, is your sales and your techniques, and how your philosophy is in being a leader, I guess.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, I'm sure in the real estate, you guys have a bit of a sales process, right? From how you greet people to, how you talk to people and whatnot. So we try and have a lot of core principles that, we follow. And I just think, as the president, it's my job to make sure we stick to the core values and core principles, especially with customer experience, right? So the younger generation, there's different styles, and you can really, if I'm not setting that stage on what I think is important, then it can really go out. Some dealership might be focused on profit, some might focus on this. And so it's really good to, stick to the customer experience, and
well, and I think there's an opportunity when you I assume in the vehicle industry, and I know from myself in purchasing cars, when I'm treated well, when it's a great experience, you want to stick with that company. And you might start with a small car and move your way up. And by the same token, the last vehicle I bought, there wasn't that great customer service experience. It really felt very transactional. And it's fine. I'm happy with the vehicle, but it really could have been so much more. I was really excited, and nobody else was, other than to get the money. Right. And
I guess that's the thing. So I try and make sure that at least once or a month or once every couple months, I'm doing some training to all the stores going in.
Yes.
And I can tell whether we're going off track on some parts of the process, because I get the KPIs and the data, and I can see it.
Yes.
So then I'll talk to the GMs and say, guys, where are we? What's going on with this? And if they say they're struggling in an area, then that's kind of what I try and roll out. And
and you swoop in and do
So
more
recently, what's happened is there's been a lot less inventory, right?
Of course,
for new vehicles and used cars. So
through
what
COVID,
happened is
it was terrible, right?
Yeah, and what's happened is it's made the margins all go up, right?
Of course.
Used car prices are higher. There's not that many new cars, so people are holding their. We kind of have to hold our pricing, because we might only get one of these type of cars for 4 months, right?
Yes.
Right.
But what can happen is you can lose sight of the customer experience, right?
Yeah.
When you're asking for the money, and you just start, so we needed to maybe take a step back a little bit as a company and say, hey, it's okay to, have these margins, but are we offering really good customer experience with it? So kind of making them all sort of take a second look and doing the little things.
I remember years ago, and I've told this story so many times, but years ago going in, I didn't have much money. I'd been selling real estate for a few years, and I was shopping in Vancouver, and I went into a Banana Republic store.
Yeah.
And I, maybe had a budget that I could afford to spend $200 or something. And I walked in, and I'd been going in and out of stores, and people would say, "Oh, can I help you?" And sort of pouncing upon you. And this, I will never forget this story. But I walked in, and the saleswoman who was there, she sort of smiled at me, and she said, "If you need anything, I'm over here." But she gave me space, was the first thing. And then she came over and she complimented me on the color of my highlights. So she was brilliant.
Yeah.
And she said, "No, are those caramel?" I'm like, "I think it's called butterscotch, but yeah." And then she walked away. And then she came back 2 minutes later with the sweater. And she said, "Just wanted to point out that this butterscotch sweater would look great with the highlights in your hair."
Yeah.
And I was made to feel so special. And like, she really cared. She was really honest and said, "No, that doesn't suit you, but this would." I spent $2,400. I don't know if I've ever spent that much in a single store since. And
it's all
I still have
relationship.
the butterscotch sweater.
There you go.
And it is that experience, and it's how, whether you're selling sweaters or cars or homes.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a bit old school, so I still really try and get them to focus on the relationship. Where,
Smart.
You can just get all transactional, like you said. It's very easy. Like, hey, what kind of car do you want? Let me try and do that, and or you can try and get to know the customers and the guests, right? So.
And how has it changed? Because, somebody going to look at a car, and I know a few years ago when I was car shopping, and I went online first, and I go online and I'm, scoping it out. I'm like, okay, I can get this car and I can get this. Was before COVID. So there was choices at that time. And you can really find everything you want online. You can shop prices, you can shop dealerships, you can do everything. How have you, has that affected the business? Have you done anything different with that? Or
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really starts way before they come in the dealership now, right? The whole process and the whole experience. So, we have to be better on how we're communicating online, or, a lot of people send an email first. So, we have to have sort of basic communication skills and how we want, our salespeople to send, someone a reply. And, so we're doing a lot of things like video messaging, we'll send you a video of the vehicle. If you send an internet lead in, I think that's really, 2 years ago, no one was doing video messaging.
Yes. Right.
So, we're trying to do things like that where, hey, you know what, Shannon, you're interested in the car. Why don't I go take a quick walk around? I'll video it before you come in. And,
that's a great
Smart.
idea.
so little
I
things
love
like that where, people are way more advanced in technology.
Yes.
So the
And everyone is.
Yeah. So the experience has to start way ahead now before they get into the dealership, right? So we try and focus on those little things and make sure that, we're not perfect, but we try and make sure that we're on the ball on some of these things, right? So
Well, and it's not unlike our industry. Everything has gone. I mean, how many times during COVID did we have buyers buy sight unseen? And even now, I had buyers this past weekend. And they said, "Yeah, this is the house. I really like it." And I said, "Okay, you haven't been here to see it." I said, "I'll go and I'll walk through and I can FaceTime you through the house. So at least you can see it. But you probably want to, I mean, the market's not crazy.
Yeah.
You can afford to come out here and let's look at the house to make sure." And they said, I've been through the photos and stuff and I'm good. I'll look on Google Earth, but let's just go ahead with an offer." And I said, "Okay." And it's hard because as a salesperson, you want to do your job and you want to show them the benefits and all of those things, but it's a little hard when you're doing it through a phone, even through a video. So going back to some of those basics and trying as much as you can is
But you're right.
we all
I mean,
face.
I think a lot of customers now, they time is important to them, so they are doing things a lot quicker than they used to.
Yes.
And we'll have a small percentage like that where they won't come in the dealership. They'll ask us to deliver them a car and they haven't seen it. And you want to make sure that you've at least told them exactly what it is, and there's no surprises, right? Of what they're getting. It's okay to surprise them in a good way, but not not any surprise them. And there's something that they didn't know about, right? So there's still a small percentage of that, but I still think most people want to engage with the people they're buying the car with and meet them and
I think so too.
Touch the car and touch the get a feel for the people.
A vehicle, even the bare bones sort of the starter vehicle, if you will, they're expensive. I mean, their cost of living, everything has gone up. So,
and in the auto industry, we all were kind of concerned about where it was going on technology because we have to build these big monstrous type of facilities now, which, we just built the new one at Kelowna Hyundai. And it's a big undertaking to have a brand new facility in that.
Of course.
And it's amazing.
If everyone is doing it online, but, we just found like it's a very small percentage. People still want to come in the dealership.
I agree.
Meet the salesperson, meet the manager, see the car and do
Have a coffee, walk around.
Sit in
we're
the
at
car,
90
feel it.
we'd be at 90% still want to do the transaction in the dealership.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How old would you say your average customer is? I mean, is there Hyundai doesn't make a truck, right?
No, Hyundai has a truck, but it's kind of it's not a full-size truck. It would be a mid-size truck. So it's called the Santa Cruz. So it came out last year.
Oh, okay. I don't think I knew that.
So it's a mid-size truck. Pretty cool vehicle. Like you have a small box in the back, but
That's nice.
I would say it varies. I mean, Hyundai's done just an exceptional job of of all their products. So like there's some cars that really relate more to a younger demographics, and then some of the staple vehicles like the Santa Fe's are probably more of aged 50 and up, right? Those type of vehicles, and then they got some hot sports cars now too.
Yes, they do.
Those type of things, and then the Genesis now, which is another company of Hyundai that owns it, which is the luxury brand, and it's all separate luxury.
And they're beautiful.
Yeah, they are beautiful.
I think they're leaders with electric as well. So it's so that's
that was
really
going to be my
Interesting.
next question is where, how soon are we going all electric, do you think? Are we hybrid now? Is that the norm sort of for the coming
it's
2 or 3
already
years?
past hybrid. I think a lot of people are going to electric, like in the Victoria market. We're getting that's just such an electric sort of community, right?
Is it ever?
Yeah.
But
We were just there actually, and frequently we were offered free parking if we were plugged in.
Yeah.
So if you had to
interesting.
charge, you had to be charging, but you'd park for 3 hours, pay $2, charge your car, and then you didn't have to pay for parking.
What a great incentive.
I mean, if they could supply a lot more electric vehicles, we probably would sell more.
Yes.
They're one of the big shortages right now, and with the price of gas, there's a huge demand for them.
Yes.
So we'll see how that plays out over the next year or two. But I would say it's probably we're still gonna have the gas, probably 60-65% for sure.
Yeah.
But it's probably there's going to be a segment, probably 25 to 30%. We're going to go electric.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's how I see where it's steered.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, my only concern with going all electric for me is we go to Vancouver a lot, and I'm like, do we have time all the time in the middle of a snowstorm to stop and charge?
There is some vehicles that can get you there.
Yeah, see, that's what I would look for.
So they are making. There's lots of different manufacturers and models now that can get you there. So.
Yeah, so that would be a big component for us.
Now, how are the supply chain issues? Is that
it's still a struggle.
backlog?
It's
still
still a struggle. There's still lots of parts and stuff that are on back order and stuff like that. So, that part's been a challenge for sure. It's getting better. It's probably 50% better than it was a year ago, but there's still a long ways to go. So, based on, talking with, the manufacturers and stuff like that, we're probably still 6 months to a year away from being back to normal on supply chain.
That's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. 6 months to a year isn't terrible, thinking for how long we've been in the supply crisis sort of thing.
A lot of it is the labor too, right?
That's it,
It's the worker.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's not being able to have enough people to do the job anymore. So that's affected every industry, right?
Yeah, it certainly has. So I'm going to jump away from that a little bit and jump into Edmonton, then moving to Kelowna. We have lots of people, and I think as the market sort of shifts and changes, Alberta's market's healthier now, and our market, of course, is in transition. So I think we're going to see more people, sort of like we used to see 5 years ago. We had lots of people coming from Alberta.
Right.
What made you decide Kelowna from Edmonton? Again, we're going to have a lot of our listeners that are looking at doing that. Should they make the jump? Should they not?
Yeah, I mean, we love it here. We like most Albertans, we came here for a vacation, type of thing with the family, for a weekend or a week and stuff. So when I decided to leave, Edmonton and start looking, we kind of had two places, and one was Kelowna, one was Victoria, and we just ended up in Kelowna just based on, we liked it, and it's beautiful here, and so.
And that's interesting because we get that question a lot too. People come
time.
and they go, okay, yeah, this is great. I'm going to be in Kelowna for a week, and then I'm going to Victoria for a week, and I'm deciding between the two.
It's often people frequently are torn between. I think we have a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
It's just we're not an island. So Kelowna is better in that you don't have to take a ferry.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, obviously we prefer Kelowna. So, I mean, I've seen it really grow here with, what, is even activities and whatnot, right? So, Our kids all loved it, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, we were just back. It's funny because I was just in Edmonton this last weekend. Like I just got back today, and you know, we're thinking about, you know, we spent so much time there even when they were kids because they came with me, the older kids, and we were just like, wow, we're sure glad we're back in Kelowna.
Yes.
Yes.
Like you go back to to Alberta for a weekend and just like, oh, we got to get back.
Yeah.
So when you moved, it was 12 years ago, right?
Yeah.
How old were your older kids?
Well, my oldest is 29.
Right.
So he was going right into high school.
Yeah.
And so there's 29. Jordan's turning 28 in September, and then my daughter's 26. So
how hard was that transition? Because that's a question we get asked a lot is, okay, we'd really like to do it for our kids so they can enjoy the Okanagan.
And then stay for post-secondary or work, you know.
I mean, you're never a favorite dad when you move your kids going into high school, right?
True.
But you know what? It was good. I mean, they met their girlfriends and they met their husbands, and you know, so it all worked out in the long run. But it's not like it's going to be a challenge when, you know, you're moving a grade 12 into his grade 12 year. But for the most part, they liked it. The sports, you know, my boys were heavy into sports, so you know, whether it was hockey or basketball, they fit right in, and it was good.
I think Kelowna, my sense anyway, and I moved, I was born in Edmonton, but moved here just before I was 2. And I think that sense of community that we've got here, that I think, you know, most people come from somewhere else.
Right.
And so I think it is inclusive. And I think people, you know, people are always shocked when they find out we're from here. They go, well, you've been here your whole life. Like, no one's really from here.
I mean, I do that all the time when, you know, because a lot of times I'll be hiring people, right?
Yes.
And I'll say to them, hey, why don't I just bring you down here for a weekend?
I love it.
And it's kind of like they fall in love with it.
Yeah, that seals it right there.
It pretty much does. I mean, if, you know, I'm going to bring a manager in and say, hey, well, you know, so why don't I fly you down here? I'll give you a car to drive. You spend the weekend.
Wow.
And get to know it. And usually they say, hey,
we're in.
And I find that it used to be that way in the summer.
Right.
You know, Kelowna was an easy sell in July or August.
Yeah.
And now we're finding people are coming here and falling in love even in January, even in November, even, you know, in the other seasons.
I mean, the Alberta people have the cold winters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And there's no comparison.
No.
Right? There's no comparison. Like, you know, in the car business, you were literally plugging in cars. It was minus 35
Yes.
when you need to show them. So,
wow.
Yeah, that would make it a little bit challenging, wouldn't
and
it?
shoveling.
I was just going to say shoveling and all of that. Yeah.
So we have, you know, we might get a few days of snow, coldness every year. Like I think last year, maybe it was 9 or 10 days the whole winter where it was
really cold,
where it was like winter and like we were out shoveling. But you know, normally it's a very short window, right?
Yeah. And when it happens like that, it's almost a novelty. People are like, oh, let's go shovel. Okay. It's for not very long. So
exactly.
That's true.
So,
okay. I have one question, quick question. And then wondering, because you'd said you bring people in when you're going to be hiring somebody and you'll often fly them out and bring them in. So where do you hire people? So do you find it hard to find people here to hire? Do you?
You know, we do.
It's a great question.
We
John.
do because there's such a shortage, right? So, you know, like for technicians, for example.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, that's a real need in the auto industry, where I mean, a lot of technicians, you know, be interested in moving from Saskatchewan or moving from Alberta, and you know, so they'll come out and want to see the place, right? So,
wow.
But so we're posting on Indeed or whatever website, and you know, that type of stuff, and then but a lot of people from out of town right now because it's just hard to find people in Kelowna.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Especially in specialist type jobs, right?
No, that makes sense. And I think that will change as UBC continues to grow and as, you know, Kelowna continues to get put on the map. So hopefully anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Hopefully.
I mean, the schooling systems here are pretty good, right? With the college and
Exactly.
and the university and whatnot. So
that's great.
Some good options.
Well, thank you. Yes.
So
and you guys are the timing there was pretty good.
I know.
good.
I know. When we hang out a
We
lot,
showed
we
up in the
actually-
same dress even.
I know. I put a shirt on because we're wearing the same clothes.
It's all good.
This was John Kot, president of Kot Auto Group. Really, really valuable. Just having you share, give us insights on
thank
moving
you for
here,
having
on
me.
running a big successful auto group. It's nice to, you know, I know the first time I got to meet you, I've been watching you for ages at the movie theater.
Yep.
With the commercials that come with the popcorn ahead of time. I know you're a big movie buff and getting to
I'll
first
try and
meet
make people laugh. So some people think I'm a little crazy for doing that, but it's all about.
I think
Great.
it's good. I think
the world would be better if we could all laugh a little more.
Yeah.
So. Thank you for sharing your time.
So
Thank you for having me.
where can people find you?
John Kot at kotautogroup.com. And
Okay.
yeah, that's
That's where you are.
that's the website. That's where I'm
And
at.
if they're looking for a vehicle, you're new, you just opened up the new
The new
dealership.
Hyundai dealership,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, just right on the Kot Auto Group website, it has
Yep.
all our dealerships there, and depending on where the car is. So you know,
And
Excellent.
we'll link that in the comments below so
Yes.
that people can go right there.
absolutely.
And
yeah, I'm
and
on
the website.
Instagram. So
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, you
You
got
really
a great
are.
following. So that's good. Okay, well, thank you
all right,
so much.
thank you guys so much, and I
Yeah.
want to thank you guys. I mean, obviously we did some business, and you guys are just awesome. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Means a
bet.
lot.
Yes.